Recording in progress.
Okay, good morning. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners Board Work Session for Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026. It's 9:06 a.m. My name is Ty Menser, Chair of the Board. To my left, Vice Chair Commissioner Wayne Fournier, Commissioner Rachel Grant. Participating virtually, Commissioner Carolina Mejia, Commissioner Emily Klaus, County Manager Leonard Hernandez across from me, Assistant County Manager Jennifer Walker, and Josh Cummings, Clerk of the Board Amy Davis. The meeting is live streamed to the Thurston County YouTube channel, and we have a written public comment that may be received up to 2 hours in advance of the meeting and distributed to the board. Action may be taken at this meeting. So first up is item 1 is calling to order. Item 2 is Thurston County Sheriff's Office and Port of Olympia Harbor Patrol presentation.
Thank you so much. We have our sheriff here and members of the Port of Olympia Harbor Patrol. Please come up and join us. I'll use it there because I think the clicker is there. Thank you for being here this morning. Good morning, Chair and members of the board. Happy Tuesday. So this is an interlocal agreement between Thurston County Sheriff's Office and the Port of Olympia, and it's kind of all-encompassing. It captures two major things. It's the transfer of some vessels into our name, and then also establishes the Harbor Patrol to fall under the Sheriff's Office, which is extremely exciting if you know anything about the history of Harbor Patrol, all the things that they do on a volunteer basis for Thurston County. And I think the Port of Olympia is at the point where they're trying to get out of some of that business a little bit. It's a lot, and I think the port's trying to focus on port stuff. And Harbor Patrol does kind of fit more into the Sheriff's Office evenly. This, I'll let Under Sheriff Mencius go into specifics on any of the vessel transfers or questions that you guys might have on that.
Good morning, everyone. Just so everybody's clear, I think you've heard bits and pieces about this stuff, and part of our major Sheriff's Office vessels for the sound being down. One of those would be the Integrity, that we've been under a grant partnership with the port for many years, but it's been down for about 3 years, and kind of had some back and forth about paying for the repairs on it, get it up and running, and have it back to being a primary response vessel, but not being under the county's ownership. And then the port having the ownership piece of it, but not being the ones that normally use it. So kind of back and forth. But that vessel's been down for about 3 years now. We've worked with the Port of Olympia to try and get the federal grant taken care of and ended. Part of that was an assessment value of what the boat sits at right now with the repairs that are being needed. And it was about $20,000 in the value, and that was an independent assessment of it. So part of that, purchasing some of the parts on it, the port would take care of some cost of it, and then we would take care of purchasing the remaining piece, which was roughly about $12,075. That's where that assessed value comes from. Once we do that, we will be able to use our boating funds, vessel registration funds through our state boating program to get it repowered and get it back up and operational. Another piece of that, as the sheriff was talking about, was the partnership that we have with the Harbor Patrol. We have Damon here to present a little bit of history about the Harbor Patrol and what they've done over the last several years. It's been actually quite some time. The partnership that we've had with them has basically been, they've kind of supported us, and we do the Washington boating programs response out there. Our search and rescue response is also out there, but they've kind of been their own little entity under the port that we've just partnered with along the way. Part of this ILA will be bringing those, the Harbor Patrol volunteers under the Sheriff's Office and making it a volunteer program that assists and supports our Marine Services unit that we already currently have. So I'll let Damian talk about just the history and the transition of that.
And just real quick, so to put it in layman terms of why it's so important to get that piece, that integrity transferred over in our name. So that was a grant that the Port of Olympia obtained years ago through, I believe, potentially Homeland Security. It was some FEMA, thank you. And so the port owned the asset through the grant, and then we were using the boat. Well, when the engines went down, you're talking about $120,000 to repower Integrity. It's not cheap. We have the funds set aside for that through the boater funds, those restricted funds. But we kind of came in an impasse where we didn't want to put $120,000 of county money into an asset that doesn't belong to us. So the transfer process, the reason it's been down so long and what's taken so long is to ensure that the vessel can be transferred into the sheriff's office without impacting the port's ability to seek federal grants in the future. So once we kind of massaged all that out of the way, now we're in a place where we can repower Integrity. And Integrity is a big deal because right now we're using lake boats out on the sound. So no encapsulated cabin. So at nighttime, if you're out rescuing a stranded boater, it's very cold. So the ability to get Integrity, and Integrity, the port's been so gracious to allow us to just keep Integrity docked down at, is it Swantown?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's at Swantown, and the ability for deputies to be able to run out there, turn the boat on and drive off, as opposed to launching a boat every time we need to get out to the sound is gonna be a huge,
Will that continue?
yes.
Okay.
yes, and we'll also be taking possession of the Harbor Patrol boat as well. So we'll have multiple vessels down there to be able to just launch and use. And we work really great with the port in terms of housing and being able to keep our boats docked there. So, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm Damien Egan. I'm the Harbor Senior Manager for the Port of Olympia. I manage Swantown Marina, the boatyard, and the maintenance operations outside the marine terminal fence. So I'm gonna go on. Maybe.
Just takes a minute to.
Okay. So Harbor Patrol was formed under the city of Olympia, Olympia Police in around 1982. The city managed it through OPD until 2015. They decided that they wouldn't continue funding for the program. The port saw the value in kind of that community outreach and volunteer program for the boating community, and through an ILA with the city, ended up taking over that program. The commissions voted on it, and through an ILA with the city, we acquired the vessel and all of the members, which we do have a few that have been members since back in the city time. I think I have about a quarter of them that have been there that long. We have anywhere from 5 years to 25 years of members in this program. Under the port, our mission was security of the port and its customers. Marine safety and emergency response. They respond to a lot of vessels in distress. They work with DNR for derelict vessel monitoring, work with ecology for spill cleanup and stuff like that. Under the port, they have no law enforcement authority. We just don't have that ability. Currently, Harbor Patrol runs 2 vessels, Harbor One, which is their main response vessel, and Port One, which is a port-owned vessel that is kind of their backup. In the past, they used both just kind of for operations for community engagement and harbor days and things of that nature. This is the Integrity vessel that's been with the Thurston County Sheriff's ILA, the one that's currently down. This is the staffing and kind of org chart. I manage the commander unit. There are 4 commanders that kind of have different operations within the organization. Training, safety, training, vessel maintenance, scheduling, and kind of community and community events and uniforms. We have volunteers that are just crew, anywhere up to helmsmen and captains that operate the vessel. They start out with maybe they have past knowledge, maybe they don't. They're just volunteers within the community that want to give something back. I'd say half of them started out as boaters. Some of them did not. So they learned through the ranks. It's kind of a chain of command organization. Fits right in with kind of the county structure for the sheriff's office. And they work their way up. So right now they do routine patrols of Bud Inlet and kind of other South Sound locations on Coast Guard request. When they go in operation on the weekends, they will call into the Coast Guard dispatch and let them know that they're out. If there's any issues in the like kind of South Sound Bud Inlet area, they will respond to them. They're more security, safety, and emergency response. They patrol about 800 hours annually, and between on-water training and in-class training, they do about 750 hours annually. They support a lot of local community events, including Harbor Days, the Dragon Boat races, quite a few sailing regattas. And then they do some collaborative training with local responders. This year they spent a week working with Black Lake Fire, who actually has some water response requirements on Puget Sound, on kind of the Cooper Point area. Most of their guys were lake boat operators, did not have much experience with Puget Sound. They went out for 4 days with Harbor Patrol and learned kind of aids to navigation and kind of navigating through the South Sound there. So great opportunity for them to reach out to other emergency responders. Classroom training, every month they do about 2 hours of training. They have an monthly meeting going over just kind of navigation. They have nighttime operations, things like that. They'll do on the water training. Which includes towing, man overboard drills, radio operations, some night operations. They'll do search patterns in the dark and stuff like that. Water rescue, fire suppression. They do respond with Olympia Fire for fires on the water. Harbor Patrol's not aligned with Port's mission or Vision 2050. Under TCSO, they'd have a expanded community benefit with larger waterway coverage area, because we limit them to kind of the Bud Inlet area. Law enforcement capability with deputies being on board, vessel inspections and safety checks. The port acquired Harbor Patrol to avoid extinction. We saw too much value in the program for it to go away when the city decided to not fund it anymore. It's limited in their operation scope under the port. Thurston County will acquire the vessels as they sit with the structure of the volunteer membership. And they have access to funding that we don't for the program, through the voter registration funds and stuff. And the port will continue to partner with Thurston County to receive the things that Harbor Patrol is already doing for us with the security, safety, and emergency response value. Any questions?
I have a quick question on the org chart slide.
Yes.
So are all of the people that are down kind of below, they're all volunteer?
They're, every one of them, even the commanders.
Even the commanders are volunteer?
Everybody in the Harbor Patrol program is volunteer,
Okay, except for you.
except for me. Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's my only question.
One thing I wanted to just add to the presentation he gave, thank you for bringing that information to as well, is that, like you were saying, that when they're out and about, a lot of people don't really know, at least on our dispatch side, so our fire departments and our dispatch side, because we're not on the same radio frequency. And I think that that's one big, huge benefit of being underneath the sheriff's office. When they're out and about, they'll be on our dispatch system. We will know that they're out there. So when a sailboat overturns in Bud Inlet, this happens quite a bit. All the fire departments will send resources, the sheriff's office will send resources. Well, a lot of times our marine units will contact the port and say, hey, can you look on the camera? Is that a training sailboat or is there a real problem? Oh, nope, it's a training sailboat. Or the port, Harbor Patrol will be out and about and they'll just go check on it. But especially with not having the ability to have those boats down there and operational and running, we would have to deploy a boat from our Tumwater office, get it launched, same with the fire department. So another partnership in this transition and then being part of the sheriff's office, hey, we'll see that, hey, there's a Harbor Patrol boat out or a sheriff's office boat's out there. Hey, can you check on this? It won't come through 40 different dispatches from the Coast Guard and all that. It'll come straight to our dispatch center. All the fire departments will know, they'll know the resources that are there, and it will save a lot of time, manpower, and reduce our response times.
Operationally, I think it absolutely makes sense, you know, I get all that stuff. But costs are, you know, a big consideration, and I know I see volunteers, but that doesn't mean things are free. So, you know, I would wanna know how we're gonna pay for this, because I'd imagine Olympia got rid of it because it was expensive. The port probably wants to get rid of it because it's expensive. So, you know, that's probably an aspect of it. And like, will there be service contract agreements between the city of Olympia, between the port? Cause I mean, they're still gonna be using it, and this would cover, this is a regional asset. This isn't just a, you know, out in the county unincorporated asset. And, you know, how would we figure that out? Because in my mind, they would need to contribute. The jurisdictions that are benefiting from this would also need to be contributing to this and somehow, because we would be incurring a lot of costs and, over the years, these turn from volunteers into full-time deputies, because that's a cool job, so I'm sure that, they would at some point become, assignments. There would be great assignments, but the costs just go up. And I mean, we can't do that without our partners helping us, I would think.
Sure, and right now, all of the waterways in Thurston County fall under the sheriff's office, under our state-approved boating program. So you'll see, if we go back in time and see where Olympia transitioned, that is because they stepped down from being part of that state-approved boating program. So right now, we receive funds from the state parks down through the Coast Guard and everything, and then vessel registration funds to pay for our boating program, and these would just be funded out of that, and they would supplement our people that we already are kind of short-staffed out on the waters. But that's where Lacey had a small program, Olympia had a program in Thurston County, so there's three, and then that pool of money that they got each year was divided by the three entities. Well, back in, I don't even remember what year it was, probably about the same year that they transferred over to the port. Olympia stepped down from that, Lacey stepped down from that program, and we receive all of those funds now. It's not divided by three.
Yeah, it's important to understand,
Flush,
we're
like
getting
we've
paid.
got a massive boater fund that we've been unable to operationalize, and now we're set for this program forever.
I would say it is doing very healthy.
Okay,
I can
doing
give
pretty
you the
good.
numbers off my
Okay.
top of my head. We normally take in more funds than we use each year, and so we have a surplus, and that's to pay for the maintenance and the repairs of these vessels. We just weren't able to use them on these vessels because we don't own them under our
Those are good
program.
answers.
So the numbers are very healthy in there, and with that and the additional manpower from the volunteers, it will increase our patrols, increase our response times. But it should still run into the same amount of cost roughly that we have for our boats currently. So,
Yeah, we're really talking about fuel. I mean, when they're out patrolling for free, that's free, so that doesn't cost any money. They train for free. Really what we're paying for is the fuel. So when they're out burning fuel, that's where it's gonna come out of that boater fund. But it is important to understand that the city of Olympia taxpayers, if they have ever purchased a boat or if they've ever registered a boat, are paying for this service.
So this would be set up like a proprietary fund where it funds itself, and it wouldn't be taking out of the general fund
It
ever?
already is.
it already is.
I know, but I'm saying in the future, will our budget team be able to, we'll get a chance to look at that and?
I should be able to see it already.
Yeah, we report on it every quarter. I know Heidi is doing projections for it. We have
But
authority to
once
spend.
this is assumed, once this is taken over operationally, how that plugs into the voter fund is what I would be.
And that fund is ours to manage, so, let's say there could be a time where we say, hey, we repowered Integrity this year, we spent $100,000 on engines. We're gonna limit our volunteer patrol time down to, 10 hours per person instead of 20 because we need to cut back on fuel a little bit. I mean, that's a very real aspect of managing that fund. But it is a restricted fund, it can't be used on anything else. People pay their boat tabs, it goes into this money pool. Any agencies that are participating and have a boater program in the county get access to it, we're the only ones. So when we talk about all this, like, we're responsible for providing a better service on the Sound, not the city of Olympia.
And even in Bud Inlet, if there's a boat collision, a fatality, something like that, we have to still do it, even though it's in the city.
Whether we have volunteers or not.
And so do we currently kind of cover all the insurance and liability for the program? I mean, it's already that way, so that's not changing at all, right?
No, it won't change, but we will add additional volunteers would be, additional insurances and coverages that we would have to implement for those
And
additional
all
volunteers.
coming out of that fund? Okay.
Commissioner Mejia?
Thank you. I just want to thank, I got a little preview of this. The sheriff came and actually also Port Commissioner Vazavada presented on this item at the Boston Harbor Association meeting. And it was a program that they were very supportive of. They had a lot of questions and they were very excited about the transition over to the sheriff's office. So it is something that just hearing from kind of my district that my district is very supportive of.
And I would add that, like, we get a lot of requests for more patrols, more stuff out, especially in the sound there where we have a lot of dilapidated boats. You have individuals who we've actually contacted people who have like warrants out for like sex offenses and stuff, because no one bothers them. They're out on the water, no one comes out there, they just fish out there and live in these dilapidated boats. But then they end up, going adrift and ending up on people's property on the beach line and things like that. So this is an area where Harbor Patrol, partnering up with the Sheriff's Office will be, I think, very effective. And so, yeah, I think it's, for me, the context that I'm looking at this through is there's already a high demand for these patrols. And I don't think the county is in a position to add a bunch of Marine Services deputies, and paying massive overtime outside of that boater fund to go out there and do those patrols all the time. So, obviously, we have to be there to do any kind of like legitimate law enforcement activity, like make arrests, issue citations, those types of things. But we can use the Harbor Patrol as a force multiplier when we go out there. And they can be used for all of the non-law enforcement, like directing traffic or just being a presence for, if Boston Harbor decides to do a firework display. How many boats did they say they had? They had
There was lots.
thousands of boats out there, which is why they've kind of started to calm down the fireworks stuff. They're like, it's too much, it's grown too big. So having these volunteers available to us is gonna be a big deal.
You said, Sheriff, you said the Black Lake, I think you said has some responsibility for marine response near Cooper Point, but you're saying the sheriff's office is responsible for all water, like how does that fit if there's an issue like near Cooper Point?
Their fire department.
The fire-
their
Yeah,
law
yeah,
enforcement.
EMT.
So a fire call or even a rescue call would require some fire assets will send if they have them, as well as the sheriff's office. But like I said, that example was if we knew that a boat was on there, because we're all on the same dispatch system now, they could stand down some of those other resources. But the fire departments do have small water responses. Lacey Fire has a huge fire response, but some of the smaller fire departments have a little bit smaller entity, and the port was doing training with Black Lake Fire. So.
Okay, anything else for the sheriff or port team? This is on for today on consent item 14, I think.
Yes, sure.
So,
I mean, my question, has the budget team looked, cause this is taking on, there are additional operational expenses. I just want to know that that boater fund can take on, and if has our budget team vetted that?
No, I don't believe we've done any analysis of what it currently costs the port to run this operation and what it will, what those costs are, what the impacts are to that fund. I don't know if the sheriff's team has done that, but for this item to come on to the agenda, our team has not done that.
Has your budget staff run the numbers?
So it's important to understand kind of how the boater thing works. So in order to receive the funds in from the state, you have to reach a certain number of boater contacts every year. When I took over in 2023, we were at risk of losing that because staffing was so poor. We didn't have enough deputies to go out, and that was actually the same time where we bought those jet skis with the intent of, 2 deputies on 1 boat can contact 3 boats an hour, but 2 deputies on 2 jet skis can contact 6 boats an hour. We don't have to write tickets, we're not out here, being pirates. But what we do have to do is go out and say, hey, do you have a fire extinguisher? Do all the kids have life jackets? The entire purpose of the boater contact is to have no drowning fatalities, no boater accidents, those types of things. So that is the minimum requirement from the boater fund to receive these funds coming in. From there, everything else you do is just enhanced service to the community, if that makes sense, right? So like, there is no requirement to go power integrity. There's no requirement to do that. We understand how valuable integrity is, especially for a sound type boat with an encapsulated cab. So we have decided it's a lot of this is very, it's very, I'm trying to think of the word, we have that discretion. There's a lot of discretion here on what we decide to spend the boater funds on.
scalable, I guess is the word you're looking for in terms of the expenditure level based on
Correct.
the amount
We
of
can
money.
very quickly scale this back and forth, because if we see that we're overspent, which we've pulled the plug on some, like, we've reached our hours for the year. And we've recognized that even though there's money left in the fund, we don't have the budget authority through the commission, we have to come back. We've had to make a decision, like, do we wanna go before the board and ask for another $10,000? There's, let's say, $100,000 in the fund still. Sometimes we've said, no, I think we've done our due diligence, there's still a little bit of money in there for a contingency if we need to call people out for an emergency, and we've cut it short by 2 weeks and said, we're done, that's it, there's no more overtime. So the way that we currently structure the boater unit is that there's been enough money in there consistently where we just have one full-time deputy during the summertime, cause that's when things really ramp up. And then we offer up overtime details to the deputies to go do their contacts and make their minimum hours. We can always say, ooh, we need to adjust this and pull these individuals off. We can do the same thing with Harbor Patrol and say, hey, listen, we're gonna cut down the number of volunteer hours by a few to save money on fuel, cause we're getting tight this year on what our budget authority is. We've never bumped up, to my knowledge, to the actual fund account. So we have our authority, 50,000 a year, let's say, the account's got 150. We've never come close to that 150.
Yeah, so I guess my question kind of piggybacking on Wayne's so have we looked to make sure that we have the right amount of funding to assume an FTE? I mean, because if we're assuming the program, we're assuming this FTE.
Nope, we're
No,
not.
no, we're
No,
not.
We will absorb that, yeah. So basically, instead of
Oh,
Harbor
you're
Patrol reporting to a Port of employee, they will report to probably a lieutenant with the sheriff's office or a sergeant, whoever
And
it
the
is.
funding for that FTE moves from one place to the next?
No, because this is just a volunteer program, there's no, so like, he is not a Harbor Patrol FTE.
nope.
He works for the port, this is just one of his duties.
Oh,
And it's not, I would argue, this probably isn't a full-time duty.
No.
No, this is a part-time, this is an auxiliary duty that he oversees. This will transfer over to our Marine Services unit, and it will be a branch, just like our Community Services unit does all the parade, traffic control. It's not a full-time gig, it's something that one of our sergeants manages as part of his duties. So,
I'm all for it. Operationally, I would want our budget team to have a chance to sit with it, and then, you know, like, there's gotta be some kind of contracts involved. I would imagine that, you know, like, we would want, you know, like, Olympia pays into the boater fund, the port doesn't pay into the boater fund. Is there a contribution in a contract to provide moorage in perpetuity for these boats, and we never have to pay to have boats at Swantown, or like, what, you know, what kind of, you know, like, just, I would want our team to just finalize that and then give it a minute.
yeah, and historically, the port has not charged us for the moorage, so that's kind of that's
But
a
now
piece of that.
I would want, like, I mean, I would imagine that's something that we could get into some type of MOU, or
Sure.
I know it's not cheap to keep a boat down there, personally.
So your recommendation is to pull the item from today's agenda and.
I mean, if, that would be just my preference, but, you know, give it to Summer, let Summer, you know, vet it through it, instead of just the sheriff's department, the whole county, and make sure that we can absorb these things, and then I would be, if they say yes, I would be all for approving it.
Carolina has her hand up.
Commissioner Mejia, go ahead.
Yeah, I think like there's some confusion, right? Like, I don't think this item is asking for an increase in budget appropriation. Like, the sheriff has already his budget appropriation set aside for the boat fund. And I'm guessing that's what, you know, they're going to be like scaling throughout, you know, this transfer is like, do we need more budget appropriation for this, or are we good where we're at? And so I'm not sure exactly, you know, what information that, you know, our budget team can give us besides the budget balance. So I'm just asking a clarification from Commissioner Fournier on that piece of like what is it exactly that you're asking for?
I'm gonna say this for anything, if our budget team hasn't touched it, sat with it for a minute, if our legal team, anything, if our legal team, you know, just like some of these other things that we've been pulled into executive session for, and our legal teams are we never looked at it, and we've thought that they looked at it. I wanna ask those questions. Has our budget team looked at these things that we're getting presented? Has our legal team looked at it? And I don't wanna, if I'm hearing that they haven't, then I'm gonna try to say this, I'm gonna try to be consistent, no matter what it is. And say, let's take a minute, let's make sure that it's gone through the budget team, let's make sure that you know, the legal team has seen it. I would assume that part's happened.
Legal.
Yeah.
My question, so just, and this is no fault of anyone, definitely not the sheriff, not, that, this is kind of unusually quick. We didn't even get a first, we had 3 commissioners at NACO conference last week, so typically we would have done a first review last Tuesday and then some questions in the intervening week could have gotten cleaned up. We didn't have that opportunity. We're seeing this for the first time it's on today. So that's unusual for us, so I think it's fair that we would delay this unless there's some reason why it needs to be signed today. If it was
No.
put over for a week or two.
And like I said, to kind of piggyback off of Commissioner Mejia, we're more than happy at the question. I think if you're looking for like a fund balance of where the account sits, that's probably fair. If you're looking for a real, like I said, this is discretionary spending for the most part. I can tell you right now, there's enough money in the account, there always has been, to do the minimum amount of work set aside by the state of Washington. So the state, there's always been enough money. In fact, it's been the opposite. We've had the money coming in and not enough staff to do the work. We're not in that position anymore. When we start talking about like, well, how much are you going to use out of your budget authority? All of it. There's a really good chance we're gonna spend every last dime doing boat patrol, especially if we have volunteers who are like, we'll spend every last dime up to that budget authority. That doesn't mean that's how much money is in the account. Those are obviously 2 separate things. You have the total money that's made its way into the boater fund, and then you have what the commissioners and what we have agreed on what we're going to spend. Those are 2 different things. So in terms of asking us, how much are we gonna spend? Well, I want to enhance our patrols out in the sound, so you can guess that in the future, we're gonna spend up to the last dollar every year on whatever that amount is. Unless there's something like, hey, we need to buy some equipment this year to replace on one of our older boats. But this is a fund that for the state of Washington is designed to be spent. It's designed to be proactive. It's designed to prevent kids and people from dying on boats. So whether it's volunteers or whether it's the Marine Services Unit going out and doing this work, we intend to spend the money. Like, it's not meant to just sit in an account. That's what the state doesn't want. They do not want this money to just sit in an account and get really big. They want you to go use the money. And then the last projections we had. Is that how much we spent?
That's what this is projected.
So we're projected to have $174,000 of total revenue in 2026. And we are projected to spend. Well, it doesn't say how much we're projected to spend because we just try to spend what's in the account.
I want this thing.
We
I
have,
believe in this service and I'm on board. I also want a form in front of everything that's presented to us that says, has budget team looked at it? Check yes or no. Has legal team visited it and said, check yes or no? Like I want both those things.
We can do that.
So the next business meeting is the 17th, so do you wanna make a motion to move it to the 17th?
I move to direct staff to do a fiscal review, operational review, and then the contract review of the proposal.
And share that with us?
Certainly.
Absolutely.
Chair, since this is on the business meeting agenda for today, a motion will need to be made this afternoon to hold that item.
Is there, just so I know what's coming, is there any disagreement with that approach from commissioners?
There's not a disagreement, I want us to be clear, if we're asking for staff to take time to look at something, exactly what it is that we're asking them to look at. Because this takes resources every time, and our budget team is already constrained when it comes to staffing and dealing with TC Connect. So if we're asking them to look at, what is exactly what we want them to look at, and what information do we want them to bring back to us? I think the board needs to be clear on that. Just saying, budget team, look at it. Well, okay, they're gonna look at it, and then what, right? So again, I want that clarification on what exactly Commissioner Fournier is requesting from the budget team. Is it a budget fund balance? What information is it that you want them to bring back to us? And I understand that you're wanting to be consistent in how things are coming in front of it. I don't disagree on that. But I also want to be clear on what exactly it is that we're asking staff to take on and what our request is.
I hear what both of you are saying, so like for me, I understand that point, Commissioner Mejia. I don't know what Commissioner Fournier had in mind. Like what I'm thinking about, because what I was hearing from some of the comments is just a little bit of thought into like, is there a way to well, there was a suggestion about the moorage, like is there should we think about, asking for an agreement that puts that in black and white for 20 years or 5 years or 6 months? I don't know, like, are there any ways we can shore up the budget piece so it doesn't creep into other expenses that we didn't anticipate in the future? Is there a way should the commissioners pass do a one sentence thing that says, we agree to take this on, but it's gotta stay within the confines of you're telling us it always has and it always will, but is that maybe a new sheriff comes in sometime in the future and wants to really expand, and then and then it becomes an ask from the general, I don't know, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud, like.
Organizationally, you quickly forget what it was.
Right, exactly.
And then 5 years
Nobody
from now,
remembers
you're like,
that
no,
Sheriff
we
Sanders said
need,
that, he promised us.
we need missile launchers
Yeah.
on all the boats, because
I think
that's
it's
the new
important to
standard.
remember too that like, so we talk about like the port, right? And how traditionally they've been very generous in saying, yeah, go ahead and moor here, we love your presence. They don't have to do that.
Right.
And they don't have to agree to a contract to that either. And we would still be responsible for the same water response. So that's, I guess, kind of my point, right, is like, I understand that everyone wants a contract for everything, but sometimes it's just goodwill with the understanding that, hey, we're gonna moor here. And you're right, maybe in the future, there's contention between the Board of County Commissioners, the port, and the sheriff. And we have to get into a contract and say, here's what we're gonna do. But we're just not there. And to me, it's one of those things where the port doesn't have to give us free moorage to handle the calls in the port. The port's not responsible for the water. That's kind of the reason we're here today, is like, that's not actually their job. And so it's really great, it's fantastic that we've had this kind of relationship that's like, hey, you guys are free to moor here, we love the presence, and then, you're available to handle the calls on the waterway, but that's already our job, and we're already collecting tax revenue to pay for that. So I just wanna be careful when we start talking about, well, we gotta get people into contracts to make them pay. Like the city of Olympia doesn't have to, the port doesn't have to.
You don't have to, but
And the
now's
port's
the
already,
opportunity to
the
ask.
port's already doing it, so I just wanna throw that out there. Sorry, Commissioner Grant, you had something.
Oh, no, I'm thinking about this, but, well, I just wanted to loop back to the budget discussion around, the numbers. I think, I'm definitely interested in, and maybe going forward when, I'm okay with whatever we decide today, but going forward, it'd be nice when we get something like this, that if you had that with it, like, here's how much we spent each year, how much was appropriated, here's our fund balance, this is what, just something that we can see, and then the contract, if there is a contract, something to go with it, so that we could actually just kind of review it. I think that if your budget staff and your fiscal staff has already done the work, I don't see any need for us to do it again, or to direct additional work from our budget staff. But, so if you have it, then great.
I just wanted to make a correction on the sheriff was reading a bunch of numbers in small print here. So to correct the numbers you were talking about, at the end of last year, our ending fund balance in the boating fund was about 302,000. We take in about 65 to 66,000 a year that we take into that. And then we spend roughly whatever we're given authority to. Last year was about 90,000. We don't have a 26 projection because we haven't got that fund authorized yet. So I just want to make sure we don't take in 174,000 in revenue. That's what we're projecting to spend in 26. If you guys grant us the right authority, then that 100 grand of that is repairing the boat. So just to make sure the numbers are correct.
I don't doubt anything anyone says, right? I don't. And I totally believe in the importance of this program, and I want to support this program. I just think, it would be irresponsible to do like mental math on the numbers here at the table and say, yep. So, we have a team that does that, and whatever that magic is, I'm not the budgeteer, and I'm not gonna pretend that I totally understand or have unpacked it. And so if that means they need to sit down and take the port's operational expenses, maybe there's zero, I don't know. Maybe they take that down and, yep, boater fund, good to go. But I would want our budget, just out of respect for them, give them the opportunity to sit with it for a second. And I don't believe there's any reason not to do that. To me, that's just out of an abundance of caution and us doing our job. So I don't know if you want more detail in my motion, I guess I could do that, but I don't know that that's necessary. I think we've kind of said it all.
Chair, we're fine with the motion.
The motion was made, I didn't hear second.
I'll second.
motion though, because we're gonna do it at the meeting. I was really just asking for the board if,
The
getting
motion
board's
was,
temperature.
yeah, and Emily, well, Commissioner Klaus gave a second. My motion is to just direct staff. I don't know that that's necessary but that would,
Okay, so and then as far as the formal removing from the agenda, that'll happen at 2 p.m. Commissioner Fournier's motion, which has been seconded by Commissioner Klaus, is just to ask staff to have budget take a high level look at the voter fund and what's being proposed here, touch base with Sheriff's Office financial staff if needed. And there's any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any-
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so that motion carries 4-1. And so, and then I'll expect a motion this afternoon to just move this item to the 17th. Commissioner Mejia.
Yeah, I also want to add that the contract is listed on the AIS, and anytime any office or department submits an AIS, there is a very specific section about which places they have to go through. And so, you know, budget office, PAO, CAO, financial services, HR, other. So that is very clearly listed when offices and departments submit AIS. So if we're gonna be adding additional requirements, I think it has to be clear for staff on what we're gonna be requesting them. That way, we're not having offices and departments show up and then we're adding additional things for them to do, so.
Okay, well, like I say, it sounds like we're good to go. We're just doing a little more due diligence. Appreciate all you guys' time today, and we'll hopefully get this wrapped up here in a couple weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. Good, thanks.
Okay, next up is our agenda review for this afternoon. As I mentioned earlier, we didn't have a first review last week because of Commissioner's participation in NACO, so we are gonna be looking at these items for the first time. I mean, as collectively, I'm sure we've all looked at this, but just pointing that out for the public, so this could be a little slower than typical agenda review for the day of a business meeting. So meeting calls to order at 2 p.m. We have pledge allegiance led by me, land acknowledgement, approval of agenda, public comment related to agenda items, and county manager's update. Those standing items, any county manager, anything you're anticipating to report?
Thank you so much, Chair. Yeah, well, I'd like to report on the Building Development Center and just share some numbers. There's a slide we'll put up. It made some wonderful progress, and so I'll highlight a few facts about that.
All right, any questions for the county manager or any of the other standing items? We don't have a proclamation or presentation this month or this week's meeting, so we will go then to the consent agenda. We have items 1 through 19 proposed. First up is contract award for custodial services to Seal X Pro.
Good morning.
Good morning. Kim Burnett, Director of Central Services, and I have I can't speak today, Jason Ash, Facility Services Manager, here to answer any questions. We are here today to request authorization to execute a 3-year agreement with SealX Pro to provide janitorial services to all of the county's owned building as well as 2 of our leased buildings in the amount of $465,764.64 annually, and to authorize the Central Services Director to approve any future amendments that don't exceed 10%. Central Services is utilizing the DES master contract for custodial services by leveraging this type of a cooperative agreement, which is allowed under RCW 39.34. We're able to save time, staff time, reduce costs, and provide access to a broader pool of pre-qualified vendors. This current contract expires March 31st, 2026. And in addition, as part of the Central Services 2026 budget reductions, we were able to reduce the contract by $100,000. We did add several newly occupied buildings, so the net savings ended up being $81,000 for this contract. But in order to incorporate those necessary budget reductions, we do need to reduce some service levels. One of those will be eliminating the day porter at the courthouse complex. These services will now be the responsibility of the facilities maintenance division. Response time for any kind of urgent requests that happen at the courthouse will, the response time will go from about 5 minutes to approximately 15 to 20 minutes. That'll be the difference between that response time. The other thing that we are reducing is the number of days that personal trash in offices and workstations are emptied, and that will go from 5 days per week to 3 days per week. And that was allowing us to save that $100,000 in the contract.
Commissioners, I just want to commend Central Services. Central Services and IT really came to the table during the budget conversations. And while we didn't have a percentage for them, I know both of them were very industrious in how they looked at their budgets and looked at contracts. Central Services, as a reminder, actually deleted 4 positions, 2 were filled. They're a small team that does quite a bit for all of our county offices and departments. And so here they looked at the janitorial contract as one of those opportunities. I know that Sherry also looked at a number of contracts as well, and they found ways to reduce $100,000. If you recall during the budget conversations last year, I know all of you have vivid memories of that. It came down to each $100,000 we could save was being moved to different places of priority to keep other offices and departments operating at a critical level. And so special thanks to Kim, because she came to the department as a new director and she put on her budget pants and really went to work. If you don't have those, you can order them through the Thurston County staff store. But she came and she really looked at our operations and did that without complaining or arguing, but was a really good partner in that. And so this is a follow-up to that, and I appreciate her highlighting that in order to spread out some of that budget pain, there will have to be a reduction in some of the services, but we see that they have an operational plan to address that. I would just add, maybe don't leave banana peels in your trash overnight. Been there, done that. So just, it's a word to the wise about how we're gonna go about, and this is the county living within its means, fighting for every dollar and being really focused on making sure that we are spending resources appropriately.
I just want to say thanks to all of you for responding to my questions yesterday around this contract. I really appreciate you taking the time to, show me the differences between the Atrium lease and this lease and what services are provided and all of that information, including the scope of work. I appreciate it. You did an amazing job helping me to understand it. I had a question from a constituent that, I don't know if we want to say it out loud later or, if you want to say it now, but just a better understanding of why we would utilize the DES master contract instead of putting it out for procurement. And I was just wondering, and you don't have to necessarily answer this right now, but Mike, I actually canned a question. Hold on, let me write it. Look, so for the public's understanding, can you explain why using the DES master contract is safe and transparent way for the county to purchase services like this? I think we just have some public misunderstanding around the way that we utilize those contracts.
That's a great question, Commissioner.
Be glad to get that information
We'll
to
look
you.
that up, and maybe share it, if we can share it before the meeting this
Yeah,
afternoon.
I'm sorry, I would have sent it yesterday, but it didn't come until this point, so, yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Central Services team?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item 2. Resolution and call for sealed bids for official county newspaper.
This is our annual item to put out a call for the official county newspaper. And this will be for the term of July 1, 2026 through June 30th, 2027 per state statute. So we advertise this in all of the local legal newspapers and send the call for sealed bids directly to all of the legal newspapers in Thurston County. So
Just a process we have to do every year. Any questions on this?
I have a question.
Yeah, Commissioner Klaus.
Do we typically get more than one application, or is it usually just the same newspaper each year?
We have gotten multiple in the past. I think maybe in last year we didn't, but I mean, it's
Last 3 years, I don't think.
last few years, we haven't. In the past, there sometimes would be 2 bids received.
It really just depends, Commissioner Klaus, on the newspapers are noticed, and if they respond, then we have more bids, and the more the merrier, so that we can take a look at the best option for the county.
Okay, perfect. And when you say take a look at the best option, are we solely looking at cost? I'm just kind of wondering like what metrics do we have in place to kind of evaluate whether or not we're happy with the county newspaper? Is it just like I don't know. There's not really very many touch points except seeing this come up each year, and I was just kind of wondering like how we evaluate whether or not those newspapers we contract with are successful.
We have a little bit of flexibility in determining who the contract is awarded to. It's based on, of course, cost is considered and the circulation of the newspaper, where it reaches.
And also the flexibility of the newspaper. The one that's currently handling the county's notices has been extremely customer focused and flexible with the county, even to the point where they made some adjustments in their internal operations so that we didn't have to adjust our timeframes for agenda postings and other legal notices. So when you roll all that up, we're looking for the best value for the county and someone that wants to be a partner with us.
And this is purely for the purposes of legal notices in the paper.
Yep.
There is a floor, right, for circulation. You can't just pick some obscure
Right.
thing. They've gotta have a certain level of circulation, and then out of that pool, then we have some flexibility based on price.
Mints or monthly can't just submit for the
I mean,
contract.
we went through all these questions like years ago with previous boards, so Commissioner Klaus, I'm just trying to remember the answers I got back then. We were asking this, cause it was a big deal. It was a big deal when we moved away from the Olympian to a non-Olympian, cause it had been the Olympian. Olympian circulation was kind of dwindling, and other media outlets were rising, and there became competition where there hadn't been before. So we had a big conversation about this like 4 or 5 years ago.
Ultimately, when we switched, the Olympian itself didn't even didn't even
That's
respond
correct.
to the RFP.
Yeah, at a certain point, they just dropped out for whatever reason.
It's a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Okay, great, thank you. Item 3 is a contract amendment for voluntary stewardship program and cost share projects. CPED item.
Good morning, commissioners. First, I just wanted to thank the county manager for sharing building development center numbers this afternoon. That'll be exciting for my team. And then for this item, we maintain an interlocal agreement with Thurston Conservation District as our primary technical assistance provider for the volunteer stewardship program. As part of that role, or in that role, they apply for cost share project funding. So to actually get projects out there on the ground, trying to protect our waterways and other critical areas. They were successful in receiving $393,875 in the cost share, the competitive cost share funding rounds. And so this amendment to the contract will basically expand the budget authority so that they could go ahead and provide technical assistance for those projects. In addition, we are requesting that the board authorize the county manager to go ahead and sign off on future cost share project funding awards, since they are often over the 10% allowance, for myself as the CPED director to sign off on those amendments to the contract. But we do want to try to speed them along when they come through.
Yeah, and let's speak to that. You know, for county government, I think we move pretty quick. We have a lot of meetings, so we're able to do that. However, for these deals and these considerations, they would like us to move a little bit faster. And I think that was some of the context to some perspectives that were shared recently. So Ashley is being proactive in coming up with a response to how do we create a mechanism for that? And it would be to authorize the county manager to have that ability so that when these things come up, we can take care of it within like the same business day or the next business day.
And this is timely because there is a new funding round opening in April, and we would really like Thurston Conservation District to go ahead and be able to submit for additional cost share projects, knowing that we've got this time savings built into approving those contract amendments.
And actually, this is an item the Conservation District is interested in moving forward, correct?
Yes,
They've been waiting for it.
we've been waiting for it. We've had this in the hopper for the last 4 weeks, and so we were already considering this change to try to speed these along before they shared their particular interest in this.
Any questions from board members?
I do.
Yes, Commissioner Mejia.
Thank you. Thank you for that, lineup. I'm wondering, for the future cost share projects, how will the board be informed that those are coming up? Or that, right, besides just the county manager executing, how will the board be informed that either new funding's coming in or?
We are happy to share an update and let the board know of additional cost share project awards. They are exciting, because this is money going directly to our agricultural operators for
Yeah, well,
projects that they wouldn't otherwise be able to fund.
What we can commit to is anytime that's activated, Commissioner Mejia, we can send a brief out explaining the situation, and anytime if a commissioner would like more, we can come to a board work session and just talk a little bit about it.
Thank you.
So just so I understand what you've said, the item that's before the board in under 3, does that include something that it's improving this cost share, but is that separate from delegating to the county manager the ability to sign? Is that a separate item?
No, it's included as the last piece of the motion, so it's also moved to approve the county manager
Okay,
executing
alright.
any future cost share projects.
Got it, I see it there now. Okay. Any other questions for Ashley? Sounds like this is responsive. Oh, yeah, Commissioner Klaus, this is responsive to processes that you had in place and things that are aligned with what the Conservation District is like looking for, so sounds like a positive.
Yes.
Commissioner Klaus.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate this item and thinking of a mechanism by which we can move forward quickly on certain projects. And I'm wondering, just because it wasn't explicitly stated that I heard, but I'm assuming that the county manager, whenever you would exercise this authority, you would send an email to the board so we're aware at the earliest convenience. Is that right?
Yes, Commissioner Klaus, that's what we expressed.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that part. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that the public was aware that if this is happening, then the board is actually aware of what's going on. But I like this item and I appreciate it.
And to clarify, this is all pass-through funding, so there is no county funding that would be included in any of these amendments. This is just money being awarded by the state that passes through us to the Conservation District and the agricultural operators.
Perfect. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is item 4, contract with Civic Plus for purchase of dock access. Information Technology Director will explain to us what that means.
Yep. Right here.
Hello, morning.
Good morning.
Sherry Ilg, IT Director, and I'm here with Susan to talk about the first of my 3 requests, which is to sign a contract with Civic Plus for this dock access tool. As part of the American with Disabilities Act, there is a new requirement going in to effect in April of 26 that requires an additional level of ADA accommodation. Our website is ready to go because we did the website project a couple years ago. And when we moved to the Drupal platform, our website's good to go, but all of the attachments, all of the documents, and there are lots of them, were not addressed with the new Drupal website. So this is a tool that Susan, maybe you want to explain to them what it does?
Sure. So we sent an e-brief on February 23rd. It explained a little bit and provided a couple of examples so you could actually look into it and see how it works. So this is about assistive technologies. If you are hearing or visually impaired, also if you have mobility issues, you use an assistive technology to read documents. So both websites, PDFs, flyers, anything that's on the website actually. And this helps to translate that for screen readers. But it actually has another additional part that I think is going to be a huge benefit to the county. It adds multiple language translation. So right now our website, everything that sits on the website in actual text is translated, but our PDFs up until now have not been. So budget documents, comprehensive plans, everything that we put on the website. That couldn't be translated in the past. So this will actually translate into multiple languages. I hope you had a chance to take a quick look at it. It also has a little ask a question tool. It will just use the information within that document, but it'll really help residents, I think, navigate our documents, save staff time, save a couple emails and a couple phone calls. Residents will be able to self-serve a little bit more with the information that we're already sharing out there. And it'll save a ton of staff time because otherwise we have to go back and remediate every document or pull it offline, which is not something we want to do. We want to provide as much information as we can for our community.
I confirm that you can now read in Bulgarian.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Commissioners, I'm super proud of Susan. She's been here just over 6 months, and in 2025, there were some perspectives from the board about accessibility and the need for us to make some progress there. And so adding Susan to the team, and she's jumped in feet first and has been working through the development of systems within our comms team and how it affects our website and other components. There are a number of projects that had started but hadn't been completed. And so for her and Sherry to partner together and to add value in that period of time, it is a response to the board's desire for accessibility, and doing so in such a way that is really clearing the huge staff burden. That's what some of the other former staff ran into. It's gonna be very time and labor intensive to have to do it. Needed work, required work, but almost time prohibitive. And so they've been able to come in and come up with a solution and really vet that. So thanks so much for adding that much value in such a short period of time.
I think this is great and needed, and I'm totally in support of it. I have constituents that have a hard time with, with getting access to some of our stuff. But $150,000 is not a small contract. How can we inform our constituents that we can afford this right now?
Absolutely. So we did talk to budget. The first year will come out of a fund that's already set up, and it's not coming from the general fund. It'll then go into rates after that, and we have been talking to the different program directors. It'll most heavily impact CPED because they have the most documents, so it's weighted based on how many documents they have online. And obviously CPED needs to for all of the engagement that they do with the public. It'll be about $50,000 a year. And we will make sure that we add a website or a web page to the site that explains a little bit more about all the different options for translation and accessibility, and we'll be doing some social media posts as well. We're also going to be tracking all the analytics on this. So we actually asked, this has already been implemented about 2,000 different special districts and local governments, but we asked Civic Plus if they could add an additional part to us, because we'd like to be able to track the number of languages and which languages are being used, because that'll help us inform our communications. And so we'll report back for all of you on those analytics and make sure it's actually being really utilized. Maybe there's better ways that we could be utilizing it. And so we'll keep tracking that and keep communicating with all of you in the community.
But that 50,000, so it's a $150,000 startup, and then it's $50,000 a year ongoing, and that'll be included in rates, so we'll just put it in the budget in the future.
150 is the 3-year contract, so 50 a year. So the first year, the 50 will come out of an identified fund from the budget has found, and then the 50 after that will go into rates.
Any other questions on item 4?
I just have a quick, I saw Carolina had your hand up, so I didn't know if you wanted to go. Well, I don't know if I have a question. I just have a comment. I have a note coming back from the NACO conference. One of my notes says 600, that the DOJ with these new requirements, also from what I gathered from some staffers that are working on things for this year, that there's going to be quite a bit, up to $650 million for ADA funding coming out from our federal government. So I just want to encourage us to be on the lookout for that, because it could potentially backfill this. And because there are there's a big push, and there's funding that's going to be coming in, and it also will be attached to the rural dollars that are coming out, because it's all for technology. And so just keep an eye out, because we may be able to tap into some of those.
Thanks for flagging that.
There will be a few other places that'll have impacts later. Our live stream, there will be some changes there, and we'll be able to utilize PEG funding for that, because that's part of what covers for accessibility. So there'll be a few other changes, and we'll also be sending some emails with training and information for staff and for commissioners, anyone who's managing their own social media page as a part of the county. So a few more changes coming.
Awesome, great job.
Commissioner Mejia.
Thank you. Well, you know, I just want to say thank you to both of you for this. It's definitely something, I know when we transitioned into the new website and kind of that's what we were hoping for, like some of these new amenities. So to be able to have it at this point, it's definitely great. And I know it will definitely save a lot of staff time having to interpret different or translate different like individual documents sometimes. And so I think I'm very excited about this. I think it's a great amenity, and it's definitely something that, you know, we've needed, and the fact that it goes into individual documents, it's very exciting too. So just a huge thank you. I think you answered my questions in terms of the funding piece, and the rates, and how it will be split into this. So just, yeah, very grateful.
Commissioner Klaus.
Yeah, thank you. I echo Commissioner Mejia. I really appreciate the work staff have done on this and bringing this forward. There's a group called Level Access. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but I just wanted to kind of throw this out in case it's interesting to staff or any commissioners. I've received an invitation to one of their webinars coming up this week on March 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And it's to help teams get clearer on the updated Title II requirements, what they mean, where organizations tend to overestimate compliance, and which actions matter most to reduce legal and regulatory exposure. And if that's interesting to staff, I'm happy to have that passed along to the county manager to distribute to any appropriate staff. But I just wanted to let you all know that that's an opportunity coming up this week in case you're interested.
I believe Level Access is actually a private company, and they do also offer a tool. It mainly remediates the PDF, so it wouldn't be quite as active on the website and answering questions and that type of thing. But we do have a video that we have coming out. It'll be training on a lot of the Title II information, and we built out an internet page as well that covers everything from video, photos, social media, and document creation.
Okay, thank you. Let's go on to item 5, paper cut.
So we have, PaperCut is the software we use to manage county printing. It is not very expensive, but we're asking for a 5-year agreement. So I'm bringing this to you for that reason. It sets our price so they can't keep increasing it for the next 5 years. So it's a 5-year contract. It averages $793.80 a year plus tax. And I'm asking that I can sign this contract for the next 5 years for PaperCut.
Questions? Paper cut. Okay.
Okay.
On to item 6, installation of additional cameras at voter services.
The exterior of the voter services building in the Mottman Center did not receive cameras when they put the first round of cameras out because there were tenants in there, and now those tenants have moved out, and the auditor's office election staff is asking that we, because of that resolution 15643, which requires board approval to add cameras, they're asking for permission to add cameras to the external part of the voter registration center.
Questions on this item? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Why don't we go to item 7, Washington State Department of Ecology Freshwater Algae Program Grant, Summit Lake.
Good morning, Jennifer Height, Director of Public Health and Social Services. And yes, this is a request for the board to move to execute the Washington State Department of Ecology Freshwater Algae Program grant in the amount of $50,000 for Summit Lake. This is the development of a cyanobacteria management plan for Summit Lake, which many of the residents utilize for drinking water. This plan began in development since 2023 in response to recurring toxic blooms. And the grant will allow us to collect and analyze the water and lake sediment data needed to ensure the best strategy is implemented to protect residents and visitors, and is set to complete on June 30th, 2027.
So accepting money from ecology.
Correct.
Does this connect to the presentation that was given a couple months ago to Summit Lake?
Trying to remember what that
I know they
presentation
had-
was.
They had, we had ecology, and then Department of Fish and Wildlife, and then Thurston County, all talking about kind of parallel efforts to work on water quality.
It all connects into the health of that lake.
And Kevin Hansen was there, and I can't remember which grant he was talking about.
And it was led by ecology.
Yeah, you're talking about it wasn't here in the county.
It was at Summit Lake
Summit
in the
Lake. It
town
was like
hall
an
while we were
open
having
house.
Board of Health, and I was over there. We had used staff from your office. I was just curious if this is a new grant.
Connects to the health of the lake, but this is a new grant.
Okay, perfect. Any questions for Jen? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Request for proposals for pavement rating services.
Good morning, Board. Matt Huntsman, Thurston County Engineer. Public Works maintains a history of pavement surface condition inventory for a variety of reasons. For one, to meet state legal requirements. Two, to monitor the degradation of the county's pavement. And three, support the county's pavement management program. Public Works has previously collected condition data through a manual windshield method performed on an annual basis. This included rating arterial and collector roadways every 2 years and local roadways every 4 years using the human eye to detect pavement defects. So very time-consuming process. As technology has evolved, companies have developed automated methods of collecting this data, and other agencies in Washington have already began adopting automated data collection methods. So this request is requesting the board to approve that Public Works issue an RFP to pursue an automated data collection pavement condition system.
It's exciting.
It is exciting.
Questions for Matt?
So would we be contracting out with a company that does that, or would we be procuring our own equipment that attaches to
We
our?
would be contracted. It's much more efficient to contract with a company that performs those services. Not being said, that could change in the future, but at this time, it's more efficient to contract with a company.
Cool. All right, thank you. Next
I'll
up.
stay here.
All right, number 9 is right-of-way vacation, Pingree Avenue.
All right. On November 25th, 2025, a public hearing was held on the vacation of an unopened portion of right-of-way of Pingree Avenue, which was dedicated to Thurston County by the plat of Rights Addition to Rochester Division Number 2, as recorded November 26th of 1910. So we're going back ways. Pingree is located just outside of Rochester near 180th Avenue. On December 15th, 2025, the hearings examiner issued findings, conclusions, and recommendation to vacate the right-of-way, subject to the condition the applicant submit compensation for the area to be vacated. The hearings examiner considered the mandated criteria that determined the right-of-way was never open or used for public travel. The right-of-way is not useful as part of the county road system, and the vacation of the right-of-way would benefit the public by increasing the housing supply and tax base. This resolution will accept the findings of the hearings examiner. When the applicant has completed the appraisal, staff will return with the final formal vacation request.
Get her done.
All right, any questions on Pingree Avenue? No. All right. We've got one more for Public Works. Resolution to call for sealed bids for pavement presentation, 2026 chip seal project.
All right, Public Works is requesting permission from the Board of County Commissioners to call for sealed bids for the 2026 pavement preservation project. This year, approximately 26 miles of roads located in the southeast quadrant of the county are scheduled for chip seal. Chip seal, as you know, is a road surface treatment that consists of a bottom layer of asphalt with a top layer of rock. It can extend the pavement life, typically up to 10 years for each treatment. The total project cost is estimated to be $2.5 million and will be paid for using the county road fund.
Questions on item 10, Commissioner Mejia?
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. So how many miles did you say?
26.
So, and how many have we done beforehand?
We prepped for this. So
You guys,
no, not at all. So we do chip seal and overlay contracts every other year. So next year will be an overlay contract. So the last chip seal contract we did was in 2024. The contract cost was $4.8 million and we accomplished nearly 60 miles of chip seal. So this contract's about roughly half of what we did in 2024.
And that's because of the reductions to the
That
county
was
road.
definitely part of the road fund reduction.
Thank you.
I can rest my case.
I'll just say thank you, because most of these places that are gonna get chip seal are out in my district, and I'm really excited about the list, and I think it'll be great. So, happy to come out and ride in a machine or something if you want my help.
Other questions on the chip seal item?
Thank you.
Sheriff's Office is up for items 11 and 12 and 13 and 14. Item 11 is a contract for a school resource officer in the Rochester School District. Good morning.
All right, well, hello again. This is to extend our contract with the Rochester School District. It's $95,000 per year to provide them a full-time school resource officer. That position is currently filled with Deputy Mancuso, who's doing a great job, and the Rochester School District loves us, so we'd like to extend.
Any questions for the sheriff? No? Then we have item 12, which is Rainier.
You'll notice the costs are different. I'll explain why. So this is the exact same thing. It's to extend our contract with the city of Rainier that is currently occupied by Deputy Hanson. He's the school resource officer. City of Rainier loves us, so we'd like to extend for 3 more years. This one's cheaper because we also contract with the city of Rainier. We have broken those contracts apart. So it's $40,000 for the school resource officer, and then we'll have the other contract in front of you probably at the next business meeting, probably the 17th. Roughly, we'll have that for you. So their contracts just split a little bit differently because it's kind of school resource officer and city contract services as well.
Question. Just for the public's knowledge, do the school resource officers make around the same amount of money for Rochester versus Rainier?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so both of them are occupied by deputy sheriffs, and that's all controlled by the collective bargaining agreement in terms of selection process and pay.
Thank you.
Yep, the difference with SROs is they get a lot more training, so they get very specific training to dealing with children.
This is what you said at the tail end about Rainier, is that then connect to our item 13 here?
Yes, and that one's being removed.
Oh, being removed.
Yes, so to give you guys just a future site, and Commissioner Fournier is gonna scream at me, but I'm gonna say it anyways. So, in going through the contract with the city of Rainier, they are an outlier with our contract cities. So like, the town of Bucota just contracts a normal rate for, basically, we're kind of just basing it off of the contract rate. So I think Rainier was first, or Bucota was first, and then based off of that, we just kind of extrapolate the numbers, right? So if Rainier is twice as big, they're gonna pay twice as much because it's twice as much call volume and those types of things. So it's based on the population. That's how we've drafted up our contract city rates. Rainier is unique in that when the former sheriff negotiated it with the mayor of the time, county was obviously going through a much different time with the sheriff's office, and they negotiated like a $50,000 lump sum payout every 3, 4 year, 5 years, something like that, to pay for a car. We've taken that out of the contract. It's complex. It's hard for the city of Rainier to necessarily budget for that because it changes then. You can have 2 biennials in a row and then a third one where you all of a sudden you're paying more to the sheriff's office. It's also important to understand that like that car doesn't stay in the city limits of Rainier. So there's a lot of like nuance to it that I just didn't really like, so we've removed it. So the $50,000 lump sum random payout for a car, which doesn't even pay for a car, has been removed from that contract. Had a conversation with the mayor of Rainier, and I'd like to just get to the point where any city or town, like Bucota, like Rainier could be looking at Bucota and saying, well, why doesn't Bucota have to pay for a quarter of a car, right? Like a tire and like an axle. And why are we paying for half a car and they're not? So I wanna make it very clear and concise about, here's the rate. This is just the rate that you pay. So that's why that contract was pulled, when we were going over it. And it also just didn't make it back to the city of Rainier in time. So he didn't have enough time, the mayor didn't have enough time to take it before his city council, to get an addendum done because there was a spelling error or something like that. So they needed to pull it anyways. I used that opportunity to say, hey, we don't really wanna do this car thing anymore, it's complex. Sometimes I don't even think we billed for the car a couple years. And so it just makes more sense to just, this is the contract that you pay for your services. So that will be coming.
I'm not gonna yell at you, but you're right. Like, cause I've been touching these contracts since they were invented, with the different jurisdictions, and the rates, as I saw it, when it initially happened with your predecessor, it was done arbitrarily. And so they're like, and I still can't pinpoint how we determine what our rates are, because it's hard to pin down what the service levels are to really match it up. And because those things, it doesn't exist. There's really no rationale for it as I can like try to understand it. And the initial rate that was determined by Rainier was simply to match the rate that Tenino had provided previously. And it was just as simple as that. So I don't know that reflects our true costs, but I also don't know what our true costs are because I can't see where the service levels are spoken to. It alludes to it in the agreement, or the amendment to the agreement. It says like, service levels will be provided and it's gonna be commensurate to the cost, but then there's nowhere that I can figure out where it says what exactly that is. That stuff exists in the SRO contracts, but so that, yeah.
Well, how do you, following up on that, like how do you, when you say there's a rate for the service, how detailed do you get? Like, I know that like looking at the court analogy, right? Something was done very just kind of high level, and now that, budgets are tighter and tighter, we're getting more granular about trying to recover cost service. Like in this context, how granular you guys get in terms of figuring out what you're doing and what you charge for that in these contracts?
So for us, we have not done a study on the city of Rainier. We have just extended the contracts that have historically been provided. The thing that becomes challenging is when you start talking about reopening and renegotiating these contracts, well, then they're like, well, now it's a bidding process. Now we need to go talk to Yelm and see what Yelm would charge us. And this work has been done in the past, I know it has, in terms of like, okay, what does because we don't have a lot of contract cities in Thurston compared to even Lewis County and Pierce County. Like Pierce County has a ton of contract cities. It's getting really expensive for the economy of scale to run a 4-person, 5-person, 10-person department. It really is. It's getting really expensive. Cosmopolis has folded. Edmonds PD, 60 cops, they're looking at contracting. They're like, we're gonna go with a sheriff's office because it's just too expensive. And think about all the other things we could do with that money, because it is cheaper when you talk about the economy of scale. But when we talk about like Rainier, I know that work was done in the past where they took a sample of like, what's the call volume look like? Are they gonna, and there's different levels of service, right? Are you specifically wanting to pay for a deputy to sit inside your city limits 24 hours a day? That's a lot more expensive than just treating you like the rest of the district and saying, yep, as needed, deputies will patrol, deputies will of course respond to, so that's a big difference in price. Rainier does not pay us to sit inside their district for a certain X amount of days, with the exception of the school resource officer. So the school resource officer is the Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday who sits inside the school, obviously, and can leave the school to handle things. That's why their contract's it's set up a little bit different financially. But Rochester is a great example. Rochester's unincorporated. They get the service that we determine that they get based on the funding levels and those types of things, the number of deputies who are deployable. And so, but they pay, instead, the school district pays that pays that flat rate for that school resource officer, which is the $95,000. So on our end for Rainier, it was all based on a study that was done long ago, long before I was here, in terms of call volume, and then what does it cost to field a patrol deputy? And so those numbers were negotiated by the former administration and
That's another
and the
reason
city.
why I question it, because I sat across from the former administration and went over some of the analysis that was done on things, and it didn't always, the math didn't always math, and it was.
And
so
it's
it
tough
wasn't-
because it does get subjective sometimes, right? Look at the city of Tenino. They pay us $25,000 a year for coverage every night from midnight to 6 a.m. That is way more than $25,000 a year, but we tried to step up and help Tenino. And we did that with the assistance of Commissioner Fournier to figure out how there could be something in writing, but also acknowledging like that's obviously not commiserate. So that's why I'm trying to get as level-headed as possible about what the costs are. I don't want Bucota or Rainier, to look at Bucota and be like, well, they don't, actually, if you account for the car, that we're paying way more than Bucota does for the same level of service. The service rates that we provide just need to be consistent. And now is probably not the time where any of these cities or towns are gonna be like, yeah, we're willing to pay a lot more. We're willing to pay a lot more for the service that you provide. It's probably just not gonna be realistic. I think Bucota pays about $50,000 a year. I wanna say Rainier is right around 200, maybe just under 200,000 total. So,
60, I think is what they're.
yeah, so with the car.
I would be curious how many times you go to Bucota in a year. I mean, that seems like extraordinary value to pay
For $50,000?
Yes.
Yes.
It depends on how you analyze it, right? There's also like, and I have a hard time like, like I live in the city. I pay county taxes, right? I already pay county taxes. So I'm already paying the sheriff's department.
So you're saying it's.
So like, there's the total, I wanna understand the total cost. I also don't want to like knock over the house of cards that Snaza built. And that's.
Cause you're saying if they weren't incorporated, they'd be getting service through the sheriff's office, and so what's the extra?
I mean.
If they're not paying for additional
Yeah.
level of service.
Yeah, like every one of our city residents pays the county taxes, right?
I think the difference is that there's sales tax, the city does not pay, the county doesn't get sales tax within a city.
The 85-15 thing.
I mean, that's the whole conversation about the Lacey annexation.
And then like the King County model for this kind of thing, it's a little different. They have patched, as I understand it, they have patched deputies. So if Edmonds is King County, right? If they contracted with, if they were in King County, they contracted with King County Sheriff's Department, they would get essentially like city cops. They would be patched as Edmonds cops in Edmonds, but they'd be Sheriff's Department employees. I believe that sheriff's departments and municipal police departments are fundamentally different services in a lot of, I wouldn't say it's apples and oranges, but it's like apples and like, maybe like a pear, And there is a difference, like they come from different traditions. They provide, the services that our sheriff's department provide is robust and way more like beyond what most of the municipal departments provide. But, so like they're complementary, but I do think that they're somewhat different. And, a city does require, like I'm thinking out loud, like a city does require different services and a greater level of service typically than, your rural highway. You know what I'm saying? So like the additional
there's a
costs make
density.
sense, but like,
And when they choose to incorporate, they flip the tax structure on us, and then they take responsibility. That's why Rochester has decided after many times
they
of
go back and forth.
consideration.
And then they come in, they're like, should we incorporate? I'm like, you can't afford
And they
it.
ultimately decide not to do it because
Yeah.
that is expensive.
There's a couple things too, so keep in mind that as a city taxpayer, you do pay property taxes towards the county, but you're also paying for the jail. Because as a city taxpayer, you still utilize Thurston County Jail. You also pay for the sheriff's office civil unit because the cities don't do civil process, they don't do evictions. So there are some constitutional pieces that the sheriff provides to all taxpayers, no matter what, regardless of where you live. The difference is
But
that
the rate's the same.
Correct. The difference though is that.
So like my contributions as a city resident paying for those things, like I'm only using essentially that one aspect of you guys, but I'm not paying less.
No, because you're
I don't
paying
get
your
a-
sales tax
I
to
don't
the
get a
city
discount.
of Tenino or the city of Rainier. But then that's for the city to decide, can we afford to run a police department? And that's the question at hand. But that's what's coming for the Rainier contract is, I guess, my point. And for us, yeah, you could go back to the drawing table and start renegotiating. But I think it's just gonna leave a sour taste in everyone's mouth as opposed to what everyone's currently under the impression of the service they're getting. And we're kind of at that point where like it's different, right? Yeah, if we took over Yelm, yeah, we're gonna have to like patch up and put a sergeant as a police chief there and the kind of doing some of those King County structures that they do and having 12 deputies assigned to the city of Yelm because there is that bigger demand, especially with all the business. The city of Rainier is not like that. So the city of Rainier is just paying a flat rate to say, hey, listen, we recognize that we can't afford to run a 3-person department. That would absolutely bankrupt our budget. So just do your work as if we're still part of the unincorporated county with the expectation that you're gonna come handle our calls for service. When it comes to cities like Tenino or Rainier and Bucota, the reason I think it's an absolute steal of a deal is that they're getting access to not just a police officer who's coming and handling their calls. They're getting access to HR. They're getting access to a bargaining team. They're getting access to the prosecutor's office civil liability team. They're getting access to the county risk pool. They're getting access. They're getting access to detectives. They're getting access to the SWAT team, the
But
dive
they'd be
rescue team.
responsible for those things anyways. The sheriff's department's responsible for those regardless.
Not for an unincorporated city.
For
For an
murder
unincorporated city.
investigations, for all those higher level crimes.
That's the city of Lacey. Right? I mean, if the city of Lacey wanted to come contract with us, we'd say, well, we're gonna have to have some real conversations. When the city of Bucota or the town of Bucota is like, we're not really prepped to start a SWAT team. We don't have a police department. That's a good starting point of like, it's probably more beneficial for them to pay $50,000 a year and get all of those things because it's not, you can't look at it as the lowest level of service possibly provided to Bucota, a deputy driving through the area and doing a traffic stop. You have to think about it through the lens of the highest level of liability. A deputy responds to a physical domestic violence and gets into a shooting. The county has far exceeded its $50,000. It's almost like an insurance premium, right? It's no big deal until it hits. And now the county's paying millions of dollars to the city, to the town of Bucota and civil defense, evidence collection,
They're already
trial,
paying you that. The
all that
50,000
stuff.
is not what the residents of Bucota are paying you. It's 50,000 plus what they're already paying in county taxes.
Well, sure, but they would have to, I mean, in order for that argument to make sense in my mind, Bucota would have to have to let the county take all of its sales tax money.
Which is nothing.
Well, sure, but I mean, that's the argument. If you're gonna incorporate.
And public safety sales tax,
Yep.
we collect that.
We'd collect all that. So if you're gonna incorporate, the idea is that you've created a corporation in the county that is separate from traditional county government. And you're responsible for your own HR, your own stuff. Everything after that, just like we're talking about, we go contract with the Port of Olympia. They're not part of this organization. We need that understanding. So, yeah, anyways, that's not the school resource officer, Commissioner Grant.
No, yeah, I was gonna say, just to bring us back to item 13, which, was about taking this offline, that I will just say that what I'm hearing you say, I think, is that we need standardized methodology across our count, or across these areas, so that you are, one person's not paying less than the other person. And so I think I appreciate that. I really appreciate you bringing up the point about there are all of these other things like the risk pool. And I mean, I'm always thinking about, it's not just an FTE, it's human resources. It's, it's the rates that you're paying us, for, so it's all of those different things. So I just appreciate that you're thinking critically about, how do we standardize methodology across our district and our county. So
I think
appreciate
that's
that.
all I'm trying to say, but like also I will keep saying that city residents are also our constituents.
Mhm.
I mean, they vote for us, they pay county taxes, so they already get all those things regardless. They get them. They get access to the prosecutor's office. They don't have to pay extra for that. They get access to the county treasurer. They don't have to pay, there's no contract with city residents to get the treasurer. They already get those things. You know, so I'm just saying that like the way that there needs to be some standard methodology, I believe. I don't also wanna knock over the house of cards that SNAZA built, but the way that those were created, I don't know that it wasn't based on anything except something else somebody did. It wasn't based on the county's needs. So like, is there a gift of public funds issues? Are we undercutting, it's hard to determine that because we also don't have it laid out what the service levels are. It's just thou shalt exist, thou already exists, you know?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the question, the only real way that you could do this is to say, how much call volume does the city of Rainier generate and how many deputies does it cost to cover that? And I think you're gonna find I'm just going off of what I look at the screen every day, it's not very much. The city of Rainier is just not a big drain on county resources, they're just not. The reason that we have these contracts is because they're an incorporated city. So when you incorporate, you become your own entity. You don't just get all the stuff that you had. And I know that you mentioned the prosecutor, but that's actually a really good example that Thurston County prosecutor doesn't solve all of their misdemeanor stuff. Those are the cities, and the cities come in contract with us. They're contracted. The cities contract all of their misdemeanor stuff that they want handled. For district court, that's what I'm talking about. So kind of similar, right? You have a superior court matter. Yes, all felonies come to our jail. All felony crimes are charged by the elected prosecutor. But there's a lot of stuff down here that I'm guessing has a lot of case law behind it that, nope, you gotta pay. It's not part of the base service, I guess, if that's what you wanna call it, because you've incorporated. And the county is not tapping in to the city of Lacey sales tax. If we were, we probably would have a lot different budget discussion last time around, but we're not. That's why the cities are doing so much better, is because we're not tapping into that revenue, so.
We are now, because we provide court services and we reevaluated our court service costs. And we made sure that our costs are covered now, because they weren't before.
Right. Yep, it's an important conversation. There's a reason that there's a lot of input, so.
All right, so to wrap up the sheriff's office items, 13 is coming off. Is it already off, or we need to make a motion?
There will be a motion on your agenda for 2 p.m. to postpone number 13 to March 31st and 14 to March 17th.
Okay, and then, any questions on any of that? Let's thank you, sheriff's team. The rest of this agenda are 3 appointments to the Solid Waste Advisory Committee and 2 voucher lists. Anything to say about the Solid Waste Advisory Committee appointments?
Just to note that 15, 16, and 17 are nominations from jurisdictions that have seats on SWAC.
Yelm,
so,
Lacey, and Force.
so we just put them on the agenda since they're those jurisdictions
It should be
nominations.
straightforward. Voucher list, public comment on general matters and community reports. Any questions from the board on the rest of this agenda?
No.
Okay, we'll have those motions made regarding 13 and 14. That brings us to one last item, which is the letter of support for Yelm Creative District. Commissioner Grant had previewed this for us last week or the week before.
Yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward, you know, it's more or less saying that we support the efforts of the Yelm Creative District for formal designation, and I'm just asking for everyone to sign up on it.
I just had one maybe helpful comment. So on that, like, you know, creative districts, you know, anyone could want to be a creative district. So the question is like, if everyone was a creative district, it wouldn't be meaningful, right? So I'm sure there's some kind of criteria that the state looks at. So I was thinking in that first sentence of the second paragraph where you say the Yelm Creative District is working to cultivate a vibrant home for culture and creativity. Is there anything that we could add, like anything specific, just to show like any efforts? You know, I know they have art murals in the, I mean, just maybe just name check a couple things that they've done that would show their
stuff's there.
efforts. I know they've done stuff,
Okay, yeah,
but just to put it in there so it doesn't feel, it feels more specific and less generic in terms of our ask.
Sure, we'll get, we'll add we've got a couple of really cool examples, we'll get those added.
That would be my suggestion. Thumbs up,
We'll send
everyone.
those to you, and then you can update and we can get this out.
Yep, we'll send it to Amy, and then what we'll do is we'll circulate it real quick, and then apply electronic signatures.
Okay,
I see Commissioner three thumbs, 4 thumbs, Commissioner 5 thumbs.
looks like my amazing assistant over here has something to add.
Yeah, go ahead,
I
Ashley.
just wanna make sure if that wasn't already in the email, that this is going to be sent to Arts Washington with the Yelms
Packet,
submission.
application.
So it's all gonna go together.
Oh, so they'll see all that,
Yes, they'll see it,
yeah.
whether or not we
Okay,
edit
well, like I say,
them.
it doesn't have to be major, I just
Absolutely.
felt like if I were reading this, I would wanna know, like, show me something of why Yelm sticks out above any community that would wanna be called a creative district. Like, what, just maybe they're the best couple of examples of efforts would just help. But yeah,
That's great.
I get it,
I
thank you.
appreciate that feedback. Thanks.
Okay, that is the end of the agenda. Does anyone have anything else they need to put up on the commissioner items? Okay, we're adjourned.